If you want to do something, imagine God is sitting right next to you. Would you still do that or not?
What kind of opportunities do you feel that the church has given you?
When you volunteer, you learn to love it. You're doing something that you like. Obviously, it makes you happier.
Good evening and welcome to CYC News for today.
I'm Susie Michael.
Angie Victor.
Andrew Botros.
Anastasia Atia. International Orthodox news in Australia, Canada, Egypt and France.
Celebrating 20 years of the first Coptic school in New South Wales, Australia.
The Coptic Orthodox Church celebrates the enthronement of Jerusalem's 22nd bishop.
Stay tuned for more Christian content on CYC. I'm Leanne Gabriel.
And I'm Mark Gabriel from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia.
Hi, and I'm Mina Ibrahim from your CYC studios in Sydney, and welcome to Ask. What is Ask, you say? Ask stands for ask, seek, knock, where you ask the questions and we'll answer it for you right here, live on the show. We have topics like IVF and the church's stance on it, human conditioning, social media and its dangers, purity within a marriage. We aim to bring you controversial and taboo topics and discussions that will not happen in your regular youth meetings. So remember to tune in to the show Thursdays 8 p.m. Sydney time and get involved. And remember, you'll always remain anonymous.
CYC Christian Youth Channel.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Ask on CYC. So I'm assuming, being a Coptic channel, that most of you will be Egyptian background. And because it's an English channel, I'm going to also assume the majority of you watching have developed the English language in a foreign country outside of Egypt. And that's great. And that's why we're here tonight, to tell you more about being a foreigner out in an outside country and still maintaining that fellowship and still maintaining that link between our ancestral home, which is Egypt. To all the youth out there, you can still be Western-born Egyptian and still have that connection with our ancestral home, Egypt. And tonight's show, we're giving you the opportunity to tune in live and ask questions more about this organisation who's keeping that going here in Australia. And without them, you know, where there's so many opportunities where we could easily lose our heritage and lose our culture. So tonight I'm going to talk more about this organisation, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask questions. The phone number is 0416 551 292. Please, this is a live show. Tune in, ask questions, and get your questions answered on tonight's live show. So let me introduce you to our guests. So we have with us three guests tonight, and the first guest we have with us, Mr. Michael Zaki, who is the Secretary of the Australian Egyptian Forum Council. Welcome, Michael.
Hi. Hi.
Also, we have with us James Tawadros and Lysandra Anis. Welcome to Ask.
Hi.
So, like I always start all my shows, I like the audience to get familiar and more comfortable with my guests. So let's start off with our backgrounds. Mr. Michael, what's your background?
Yeah, it's basically I'm a project manager, a professional project manager, and work in multinational companies either in Egypt or in United States. I'm now here in Australia. I got my degree from the United States in addition to my degree from Egypt, and I studied furthermore here in different field, which is banking and finance, and where I worked in the banking and in the finance industry. In terms of the volunteering activity, I'm a United Nations volunteer, and it's doing a bit of lectures for developing the youth skills, soft skills, and management skills, and in addition to the Australian Egyptian Forum Council, where we are going to talk about later.
Okay, James, please share your background.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening. I'm part of the Australian Egyptian Forum Council, as we're talking about today. I'm a youth member with Lisa and Ace. I was born here in Sydney, Australia, part of the congregation of St. Mark's Church in Uncliffe, and I'm currently studying Bachelor of Pre-Medicine Science and Health at the University of Wollongong.
Lysandra, please share yours.
So for me, I was born in Australia, but I actually did get a chance to live in Egypt for a year as well. Currently, I'm about to study Bachelor of Medical Science, Doctor of Medicine, but I previously studied psychology.
Okay, welcome to Ask. Pleasure having you on the show. So now let's talk more about the importance of understanding our identity as Egyptians living here in Australia, and how important it is for us youth who are watching the show, whether they live in Australia or whether they live in other foreign countries outside our home country, Egypt.
Yeah, it's very good that you mentioned this point, because it's actually what's happening here, that it's Egyptian community is like any other community. It's, for example, if we talked about the Irish community, the Italian community, it's all over the world. It's as I mentioned, I used to be in the United States. I'm here in Australia. I travel a lot to Europe. So whenever you find them, you find that they keep the heritage, keep their identity even for 6th, 7th generation, even sometimes more. You find that it's, for example, just St. Patrick's Day was a few days ago, and they celebrated it in different countries. And they're proud of their identity. It doesn't mean that they are isolated or they're not engaged with their communities, but they are getting the best of both. So it's let's take it a step in our life stages. It's even for kids, it's very good for their resilience, because sometimes you find people are different in their color of their skin, the way they talk, maybe the way they deal with others. So sometimes they could be exposed to a bit of different treatment for little kids. That I don't call it like any bullying or anything, but kids are kids at the end. So when you find the kids are really confident with their identity, with the way they look, the skin color, all these things, they find, I'm proud of this. Let's build healthy relationship, and they be more resilient. Then when they move to be teenagers and youth, and they find that, oh, I really have a very good, strong heritage, knowledge. I have the best of both. It will be wonderful even if they bilingual. They can have 2 languages, reading, speaking, writing, and all the 4 skills. So it's really adding advantage to them. So this, when it's really come to youth, then they move to the academic life in uni, or it's being if they to be employees in big enterprises, or having to be entrepreneur, having their own business. Believe me, this really make difference, because they build massive network here, overseas, with other communities. And for example, we are here together broadcasting in a community channel, and somehow I know that you are international as well, but the thing that make us all together here is our identity. So yet it's, as you see, Lysandra, it's studying medicine, pre-medicine, James. It's a very successful, engaging youth to the community, and this is how it goes. So this is how important it is for the identity. And yeah, it's in addition to language. So it's you tell me. It's if we have the time even to go through this one. It's for example, we see the Matthias Cormann, the finance minister. He has a very nice French accent. Is when he speaks, it's still nice. He's proud of his Belgian heritage, and he's now a very active member in the cabinet, the finance minister, and yet he have the best of both. We have a meeting, for example, the Australian Egyptian Forum Council with the Australian ambassador to Egypt. He is, I can tell you, he's fluent in Arabic. It's like you feel that you are talking to an Egyptian guy, and it's a common Egyptian lay guy. So this really adding a value for youth and for. I think maybe Lysandra or James can tell us more about, because they are here and they can share some of their experience.
Yeah, no, I understand about the about being proud about your heritage and where you come from. I would always love to talk about how talk about the nation of Egypt and everything about our culture and how this is transferred over to our lives and our communities in Sydney. And always, especially Coptic culture and heritage is something I love to always talk about. It may have not always been like that when I was younger, but certainly now that I've been more engaged with the wider community, university life, plus with the spending time in the forum, it's definitely built my pride in my heritage. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I agree with James and definitely what Michael said. I guess we really can't separate our Egyptian identity from our Australian identity. It's really, I guess, embedded in our everyday lives. The lives we live at home, the way we've been brought up. Yeah, it's different to, I guess, people who have Australian-born parents. But for us, raised in that Egyptian culture, it's something special, and it's something that we should be proud of. Egyptians really do instill like a love of food, a love of education, and it's really something we should encourage.
Okay. Michael, I know you mentioned earlier about networking. Can I share an example with you, and maybe you can tell me if this is what reuniting and keeping our cultures alike. So I'm a property developer, and 70% of my contractors, and I've done this on purpose, are Egyptians, Coptic Egyptians from church. My Arabic has gone so much stronger because we only speak Arabic at work. Yeah. But what I found lovely, and this taught me more about the Egyptian culture, is they would bring food with them. One person would bring, whether it's the carpenter or the painter or the electrician, and they'll get a piece of timber and create like a little table on the floor, and they'll all gather around it, and we'll all eat from one plate. And I thought that was beautiful. And I think this is common. This must be common in Egypt, because every time we have lunch, someone will create a table. Someone will bring the Egyptian bread. Someone will bring the food. Someone will bring the basal, and
that's great. That's great.
Is this what we're trying to achieve on a larger scale?
It's this exactly true, because you know what, it's the thing here. What it's really been developed recently in all the human sciences, management, all this thing, talking about, it's networking, ice breaking, how to communicate. It's all this big, subjects, big names, it's books, people talking about this in universities, in big lectures. But you find that it's really, as Lysandra mentioned, it's really embedded in the Egyptians. And the thing for it, because we are talking here about a heritage of more than 5,000 years. In a way or another, it's in our DNA, in the way that we deal with people, deal with, even with crises. We find all the aspects. What you're talking here about, what it's been recently mentioned in the management, okay, let's network and let's have, Google is having open space, and the people are chatting to each other, and they are going dinner, and how the big corporates, big names is doing. oh, you're telling me now this is what the Egyptians do already while in the site. This is the thing. But this is how to convert the real life experience, the day-to-day, into the in a methodological way, and making this like a formal way or in a management style. So when you have really all this heritage, you can convert it in a modern version. Okay, so if you, for example, if you are using this experience, this example, and you are turned to have a multi-million company in construction, and then, oh, I remember when I started, we used to do this. Okay, so let's do a massive event to celebrate all together. We have 30 new workers and employees. Let's join and come and celebrate them on board. Oh, it's the same concept, but you put it in a modern perspective. So this one thing. The second you just mentioned is the importance of having the Arabic language. The Arabic is very rich language. We shouldn't ignore it or look at it as inferior language. It's really very strong, very rich in vocabularies. And it's really like any other language. When you know more than one language, you will be able to communicate well and express yourself well. This is a psychological and scientifically proven in many studies before. But it's learning Arabic as well. It adds years and years of experience to your life, totally for free. You don't need to go to uni or study or read books. It just will come to you on a golden plate. Because take it this way, it's the Arabic, even for, if we're talking here about Christian community, that it's the Christian community in Egypt have at least since 685 till now, we are talking here about 1400 years plus, which is all a Coptic Christian heritage in Arabic. Many of the hymns, many of the tasbihah, all this, it's made in Arabic. So it's even in all aspects. So it's in communication aspects, in relation aspects, in personal aspects. It's very, very important. So thank you for raising this and sharing this, your experience.
Okay, thank you. So now let's talk more about the Australian Egyptian Forum Council specifically. I want to talk about its role, its objective, and its background.
Oh, the Australian Egyptian Forum Council, it's been established almost 40 years ago, and it's by definition it's for the Australian Egyptian community and to serve the needs of this community and how to make them more engaged in the Australian community. So in addition to the points that I mentioned regarding the identity and improving the values, it's like an association. It's actually association, a formal association established here in Australia with a full board of members. We have the president is Professor Rafat Abeid. We have Hani Adel is the vice president, and we have Heba Khamis is the secretary. We are open for, and myself, Heba is the treasurer, and I'm the secretary. I'm sorry. So we are open for all Egyptian, regardless of their background.
40 years it was established.
40 years.
So this is not long after the first Egyptian church was established in Australia.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
We are talking here about, I think Egyptians here in Australia started 50 years ago, which is almost four generations, roughly. So it's almost from the very early beginning.
Wow.
There's the thing. The second is it's open for all Egyptians, regardless of their backgrounds. It's their education, it's religion, it's gender. We're really open for all. So, and we have a big list of activities we do when we come. We can, if you have the time later, we can go through it. But what's the Australian Egyptian Forum Council about? Okay. And Lysandra and James have joined recently, as a members in the youth chapter, which is, and they, I think they can talk more about the youth chapter as well, and how they find their experience.
So you mentioned about the objective. Can you elaborate more about that?
Yeah, so the objectives is, first is to provide community services to Egyptians. So like if there is anyone after some, for example, if a youth coming and he wants some kind of mentoring service, we can provide, for example, if he's studying law, we can put him to a big law firm where they can help them to mentor, and that's to how can help in studying, how to be ready for the real life experience. Same applied with if someone needs a reference letter for a university or for activities he or she doing with the forum. So we have a bit of services. In addition, we have some social services. We are organizing the Australian, the Egyptian festival, with the one we organize in the Darling Harbour on an annual basis, the big massive one. We've been doing this for 16 years now, even. So it's, yeah, we do Egyptian movie club. We do the Egyptian Friend of Egypt. The Australian Friend of Egypt, the Egyptian of the Year. Have many things. It's hard to remember them all.
Okay, so just a reminder to our audience members, please, this is your opportunity to ask questions. It's a live show. The phone number is 0416 551 292. Send us a text message and we'll answer your question on tonight's live show. So now I want to talk more about your achievements. 40 years, that's a long time. So let's talk about your achievement, and I believe there's going to be pictures coming up on the screen now.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. So it's if we whenever it's ready, we can go through it. It's as I mentioned just a minute. It's the annual Egyptian festival. It's a culture event. It's a massive one. It's been on the in the Darling Harbour. For example, what we have here on the screen is if we can go back to the previous one, it's the book. Yeah, so thank you for that. So it's this one is one of our events. We celebrated the because it was the 100th year anniversary for the Anzac, which is Egypt played a pivotal role in this one, where all the Anzac troops were in Egypt. And then the Egyptian troops have a great involvement either in the Middle East or in Europe. And in this book, it's been sponsored by the Australian Egyptian Forum, and which shed the light for, I think, for the first time for the on the Egyptian role in the Anzac. If we go for the second pictures or second events as well, so we have the annual Egyptian Forum Council. We have the festival. We have this one that we have on the screen here. It's one for the events where we celebrated the pioneers who came first to Australia. This one has this, I think, the third or fourth round. This one was celebrating the 1960, the first one who arrived. If we go with the rest of the pictures, it's we have always been the Australian government and the New South Wales government, usually represented either by the board member of parliaments or ministers. We can see here the wife of the late father Mina Namatallah, the first priest here in who served here in Australia. And it's the youth, and the James is here as well. It's and we have a couple of those people. Those guys are the HSC High Achievers. This is another event that we usually celebrate on annual basis. It's attended by the Egyptian ambassador with member of parliaments. We can see here the David Clark, the Honorable David Clark. We see the president, the vice president of the Egyptian Forum Council, and key prominent figures from the Egyptian community. So it's really, if there is, I'm not sure if we have the chance. Yeah, this is the Australian, the Egyptian festival in the Darling Harbour, representing them, our culture. It's not only, by the way, it's about the ancient Egypt, because many people think that we still riding camels and living in pyramids, small pyramids in Egypt. So which is not the case. Definitely, we shed the light on the modern Egypt, the high rises, the new the big corporates working in Egypt, the massive constructions. The thing, that's another event where we celebrated the Egyptian of the Year. It was for Nick Caldas was celebrated this another picture for the last HSC High Achievers. It's been conducted in the Great Hall of the University of Sydney. Very nice place. We celebrated those guys, boys and girls, who really achieved 90% plus in their HSC. It was a massive, amazing evening, and I hope James and Lissandra was the MC as well for this one. And yeah, the list is really big. It's for example, we have also the we formed a sister association in Egypt called the Egyptian Australian Forum, which is headed by ex-foreign minister, the Egyptian foreign minister, and we have many activities as well. Believe me, I can't remember them all. Oh, we have the parliament, the member of parliament, the Friends of Egypt in the Australian federal level, and the federal parliament, and on the state level as well.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
We're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, let's continue our discussion. Thank you. And thank you to audience members who have tuned in. And please, I urge you to ask questions. This is your opportunity. Just a reminder of the phone number, 0416 551 292. So how do you maintain your heritage in a foreign country? Tonight's show is for you. Thank you.
Women, they have very important part in God's plan. Be able to adopt yourself to God's purposes. The Samaritan woman Mary, Jesus' mother, she did the right decision. We are discussing women from the Bible to see which character is the best, which one to follow.
Have you ever wondered why our church looks like this?
And why do we need an altar to pray liturgy?
Yeah, and why do we even use a censer?
And have you ever wondered why we need to stand while it's out?
Those are good questions. Do you have the same questions?
Come join us on the Ark.
Why do we show reverence in this way?
The highest point of the person is his mind. I'm bringing all of that in humility before the Lord.
Is there a reason we fast 9 hours before the liturgy?
I noticed that you did another matanya after you opened the veil. Why is that?
So, Abuna, why do you walk around with the censer?
Abuna, why do we use the altar?
Why do you take the middle piece and then you put it in the blood?
like to welcome you to a new series on CYC called Disciples of All Nations. St. Mary is also a beautiful example of a disciple. He became such a holy man. There is nothing said by him in the entire New Testament. He truly was an epitome of a disciple to the nations. My name is Father Peter Saad of St. Peter and St. Paul Coptic Orthodox Church in Montreal, and I'd like to welcome you to a new series on CYC called Disciples of All Nations.
CYC, Christian Youth Channel.
Hi, and welcome back to Ask. So tonight's show we're talking about the heritage, living in a foreign country and how we can keep our culture, keep our heritage. Please, the phone number is 0416 551 292. Send us your question and we'll answer it tonight on the live show. So let's go back into the questions. I want to talk more about the future of the AEFC. So what does the future hold, for, especially for the youth? Let's talk about the youth.
I think we're trying to recruit as many youth members as possible because the forum really needs some fresh ideas in order to, I guess, continue this connection between our Egyptian heritage and our Australian culture. I guess through the activities of the forum, we're starting to gain an appreciation of what we have and how we can continue that from the next generation. So I guess as youth members, we really are trying to pass it on to the next generation as well, to see, I guess, the value of maintaining our connections.
Yeah, and as Liz was saying, I think the best way to engage with the younger generation about their culture and heritage is for the youth themselves, people of the same age, same ideas, same maturity as well to engage. It's hard to engage with a group that comprised of members that are much older than themselves and might not feel that that's a place for them to be. But by recruiting youth members and through our youth program and for the few youth that have started, we've really engaged more with the youth and have been the forum has become much more notable through the youth engagement with the younger generation.
So you guys were both born here, so there was an opportunity where you guys could almost forget the language. There's a lot of youth out there who are born here and who their parents were born here, and culture to them is almost becoming extinct. What advice or what encouragement would you have for these youth out there to keep the language going, or to even keep a little bit of the culture going, and the food and the tamia and the murukhia and
I guess for us we were a bit lucky because we were. I myself spent 13 years in Coptic education, so I couldn't escape it really. But I guess when you're a kid, all you want to do is to relate to fit in. I guess all we can say from our experience is that it's not the best thing to fit in. The best thing is to stand out. The best thing is to have a uniqueness about you, and we feel like our heritage does provide that uniqueness, and other people can see that. And so we would encourage all younger people to really dig into their heritage, because that it gives them a feeling of identity and uniqueness. So,
Lysandra, how great would it be if someone had a second language on their resume, like Arabic?
Yeah, of course. I didn't go to a Coptic school, and so people were just interested in general. Like, you're Egyptian, really? Do you speak a second language? And they would talk about how maybe they have Greek heritage or maybe Italian heritage, and they can't communicate with their, extended family because they're limited to the one language. And so for us, I guess we don't realize how, cool it is for other people who are non-Coptic or non-Egyptian to have a second language. We don't value it that much.
Okay. So having this organisation is great for us Egyptians because we need it. But how about for the general Australians? How can it be beneficial for them also?
Yeah, it's as I mentioned, it's when you have a successful, confident, resilient people or students or youth, you name it, really you find their contribution and their confidence is really reflected in the community. So for example, now when you shared your experience here, you feel that you really packed with very wide, strong community. So whenever you do an activity or you do a project, it's either volunteering or business, whatever, you feel that, oh, I already have a clientele, I have a business to do here, and I have really some support that I can get. So you don't need to start from scratch. You don't need to reinvent the wheel because you already can capitalize on what others done for us. I remember here, and when you have the chance to go through the videos we have, that it's when we recognize the achievement of the Mr. Nick Caldas, who was saying that we have many others before who opened the gate for us. So let's keep it open for others as well. So this is how important it is. So, and it's to keep it going. So it's a win-win situation. So the Australian community is really having a valuable contributors to the economy, to the culture, to the we have James Tawadros, I think the same name as well, but it's the lute player, the oud, and he's going now overseas everywhere. It's introducing the Egyptian kind of music. He put it in the same perspective I just mentioned a few minutes ago. He put it in a modern perspective. So this is the key thing here. So we have many successful people in the parliament. We have 3 members of the parliament so far. We have key persons in the federal and state level, in all agencies, businessmen, you name it. And not only here in Australia, you can see it in United States, in Europe. I have friends in everywhere, and I remember one of the very successful organizations as well that's been established by Egyptian is the Coptic Orphans as well. So it's by Nermeen Riyad. It's been now massive scale. Believe me, it goes win-win for everyone.
So what is it like being a member, and do you have to be Egyptian to be a member?
It's you tell guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've only been members for about like a year or so, a couple of years. I think we've had a really positive experience. I think the great thing with us is the amount of new people that we've got to meet. And like before you were talking about how it shapes our identity and resilience of the young people. I think when we've been engaging as members, we've seen fellow Egyptians older than us who have been successfully able to engage with the Australian community and the wider community to contribute to culture, to economy. And so that gives us confidence and pride also in our culture and heritage, but also gives us, a motivation, to work hard, to really try to engage with Australia. That's the whole purpose of the Australian Egyptian Foreign Council, not to be isolated as Egyptian, but to really show that Egyptians can also engage in the Australian community, in the workplace and in culture. And so, when you're always talking about the big topics that are on debate at the moment, things like immigration and stuff, I think part of the role of the Australian Egyptian Foreign Council is to educate people that anyone from any culture, from anywhere, can contribute positively to the Australian community. And so we've had a lot of experience with that, with fundraising, through our fundraisers, through meeting people, members of parliament and things. And so, yeah, it's been a really positive experience.
Lysandra, how has it made you grow as a person being a member?
I think it's created a cultural awareness. I I guess seeing people, successful Egyptians in the community, like James was saying, you know, we've met parliament members and we've, I guess, come to really understand what it means to have pride in your culture and to, what James was saying again, not being isolated, but to fully engage. And I guess that's instilled to us that we should be proud of our heritage and we really shouldn't hide or maybe try to pretend that we're only Australian and forget about our Egyptian heritage. But yeah, that we engage the two together and really value it. So for me, I've definitely come to value it more.
Okay, so how does one become a member?
Yeah, it's simply through our Facebook. They can send us a request, or they can email me on the email on the screen, and it's we send them an associate member form, and just simply by completing the form and being endorsed by 2 of the executive members of the forum, and just as a reference, and then we can take it from there. It's really full of opportunities for youth. It's, as I mentioned, it's for network, as the same point you experienced, and it's the having the opportunity to get a very high level of exposures between, as I mentioned, the executive board is either professors in the Sydney University, Professor Rafat Abeid. We have Dr. Heba as well, Heba Khamis in the Sydney University. We have businessmen, we have lawyers, we have, you know, really in top tier, top notch in positions in industry. For example, it's Michael Abeid, the SBS chairperson. He's one of the people that it's in our network. So if someone needs to be mentored, it's really, we can help them, put them there. One of the coming events during 2018 is we are organizing, we're still in the planning phase, but could be by the second half of this year, organizing a trip to Egypt, totally hosted and financed by the Egyptian government. Just all what the members, the associate member need to do is to buy the ticket, and that's it. All the accommodation, everything there will be totally on the government side. And they're going to see visits. They visit the mega projects, one of the biggest solar stations to generate electricity in the world is now built in Egypt. They're going to go for the 3rd biggest electric station in the world. It's being built in Prolos. There's really the new capital city. They will enjoy it. They will see the modern Egypt as well. That they never or ever know. And I think it's many people still considering Egypt is the only heritage, old temples and this ancient things, but it's really, there is another side that's they still missing. So there's many things is actually if they became a youth member.
Sure. Okay. I believe you have some videos to show the audience, and we can run through it when.
Yeah, it's it's the videos that it's go through. It's for answering some of the questions. It's for example, when we have the celebration, when the Egyptian of the year, it was Mr. Nick Caldas, is the one that it's. The pioneers one. This is the video. This one is for the first Egyptian people who arrived to Australia back to 1960s and 70s, where we can see the wife of the late father, Mina Namatallah. It's I think it's you guys were there as well covering this event. We have heaps of all those people wearing the orange. I think it's the art people recognized, being attended by members of parliament, the representative of the New South Wales, and here's Nick as well, David Clark. It's the representative of the Premier, This is the Egyptian festival in the Darling Harbour. This David Clark, as the Honourable David Clark as well. We really was able to gain a lot of supporters in the Australian, among the Australian politicians. You cannot imagine the way these guys and the other members is talking about Egypt, the people of Egypt, how they really have much deeper understanding to the challenges that Egypt face in this part of the world, with all the surrounding challenges in the other countries surrounding us, and how Egypt was able to be safe and stable. This is Professor Refat Abeid, the president of the Australian Foreign Council. We can see also in the back the members of the Egyptian consulate as well. Can go next, or yeah. So this one is being organized. It's on annual basis. It's targeting not only the Egyptian community but also the Australian, the wider Australian. So you can imagine when you have it in big public space like Darling Harbour or any other place, you attract different denomination, different culture, different people, different, you promote Egypt to those guys and the Egyptian cultures. As I told you, many think that it's still Egyptian living in small pyramids, riding camels. This is not the case. Differently, we need to really position Egypt in the place that it deserves worldwide. So this happens by our efforts, by youth efforts, by you guys. It's believe me, you here in this channel, a really valuable asset, because you're connecting Egyptians in worldwide, here in Europe, United States, in Egypt as well. So you're doing a fantastic job here.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on the show. It's a pleasure having you, and thank you for rekindling that fire that we need to remember our culture and our heritage. I know a lot of youth out there are forgetting about our culture and heritage, and thank you for coming here and reminding of that, and for the youth here representing your organisation and reminding the youth about it. Thank you. Pleasure having you on Ask.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for our audience members who've tuned into tonight's show. I'm Ibrahim from your CYC studios in Sydney. Good night and God bless.
We're good to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
CYC, Christian Youth Channel.
Hi, and I'm Ibrahim from your CYC. Welcome to Ask. What is Ask, you say? Ask stands for ask, seek, knock, where you ask the questions and we'll answer for you right here, live on the show. We have topics like IVF and the church's stance on it, human conditioning, social media and its dangers, purity within a marriage. We aim to bring you controversial and taboo topics and discussions that will not happen in your regular youth meetings. So remember to tune in to the show Thursdays 8 p.m. Sydney time and get involved. And remember, you'll always remain anonymous.
Today's gospel, our salvation is a Trinitarian salvation. I did not promise you with a world free of troubles, but I promised you I will be with you. Our Lord himself said, I am